Hello again, Anomaly here, and we're back once more with Sunless Guys Sovereign Edition. For those that missed last week, we did a lot of random errands, exploration around Albion last time, visited the Clockwork Sun a few times, visited Parliament, did a bunch in Perdurance, started to unravel the mysteries of Wardleby, Mare. Lots of fun stuff. But towards the end last time, I decided it was time to check back in on the Reach, the section of the sky where we first started off. So today, oh, and the other big thing that happened is we bought our first train upgrade. So we now have a much nicer, much hardier locomotive than our starting train, the Orphean. So with our new train, I do want to run around the Reach a bit more, see if we can tie up a few other loose ends, maybe get ourselves one or two additional upgrades, and then hopefully by the end of the day here, we will make our first venture into Eleutheria, which is a region of the sky I have never been to. So I will probably then immediately die, but we will give it a shot. Let's dive right in. Right, here we are at Woolsby Station, back at New Winchester. Nothing much happening here in the city. When we very first arrived back in New Winchester last time, the balance of power in the Reach has shifted somewhat. So if we inquire about the war, the most recent development is that, no. The Tacadies have basically left New Winchester, and the Windward Company is kind of in charge of most things right now. But yeah. So, 5 crates of miniature literature. We don't have a ton of dollary dues right now. Something I particularly want, honestly, is like this winch and pulley that'd give me 8 more hold, which would bring us up to 20 hold space. That would help a lot if we're going to venture into a new region. As without it, we very easily could run out of food or fuel while I don't know where any of the ports are, which would be bad. Also wouldn't be terrible to get one of these better engines, but honestly I'd rather spend the money on a really good one in London. So we probably won't do an engine upgrade. We'll probably shoot for this 1160 winch and pulley. Add in, what slot does that take up? So that would go in our auxiliary slot here. Also, wouldn't be terrible if we could get a couple of these bronzewood shieldings to put into our armor spots, an extra gun, and bridge slots. What goes in a bridge slot? I don't know what goes in a bridge slot. It's not a thing you can sort these on. Oh, here we go. So we could get more crew quarters. Few options. We also did get a Star Smitten Bat, so we have a slightly better scout now than the one we started with, which will also help when we explore a new area. So overall, lots of good developments there. We are still on Captain Arin, which is super impressive to me. I don't think I've had a early game captain ever make it as far as this one has, so I'm very very pleased to see that. In terms of our journal, as I recall, basically all of our quests were to go to Carillon. Or no, we went to Carillon. We went to Carillon. We've done those. What are we doing now? I think maybe we're talking to our officers and figuring out where they want to go. Okay. Let's start with our incognito princess. Okay, we've exhausted all of her story. We need T to talk to him. That is imminently achievable. He often recounts escapades from his last engine, but rarely shares anything from before that. Perhaps a quiet cup of tea will draw him out. He clears his desk for the tea set by sweeping papers to the floor. I'll tidy up afterwards. The condition of his cabin casts doubt on that. I grew up a servant of the Eagle Khan's ambassador to London. His son, Altan, befriended me. We'd climb out the attic window to race urchins together. A wistful note enters his voice. We never won. The navigator trickles a spoonful of sugar into his cup, then another. Would we stop at London? Altan died. I couldn't even be at the funeral. I want to say goodbye, but I'll need to speak with his parents first. So, oops, should have talked to this guy a little bit sooner. We were just in London, but we're not going to go back there right this second. The clay conductor. You've overheard him attempting to sing, but he gave up quickly. His voice was gravelly and out of practice. Some nectar might help lubricate the vocal cords. The clay conductor fetches a spoon and several lumps of sugar. He mashes the lumps into the honey, then gargles the concoction. When he is done, you wrangle a little of his past from him. The clay conductor was in the clay choirs. His dead companion, a very talented clay chorister. I have hopes of fighting with someone with as good a voice again. One cannot be a chorus alone. I've heard tell of a clay man in the most serene mausoleum. The clay conductor trails off, clearly desiring your assistance, but uncertain how to formulate the question. He stares at his feet instead. A reminder to always talk to your officers, because sometimes you'll be at all of these places and not have quests for them, and then you'll talk to them when you're not at those places and regret it, is what we are learning here. Alright, but let's talk to our Chiropterus hoarder. The Chiropterus hoarder glowers, its expression glacial. When it becomes clear that it cannot intimidate you into leaving, your quartermaster sighs and relents. A jellyfish still alive, it whispers, voice sawed down to a growl. As it speaks, the hoarder trails a claw along each item. A dream of freedom, piped into glass. Bird and spores that will never die. Everything immortal, or that aspires to be immortal. I am making an inventory of them. So we can either give him a gift or attempt a check. We will attempt the check. We even succeeded the check. Look at us go. You can't have it. It hisses at you from under its oversized cowl. You explain that compliments are not meant to be transactions. The Chiropterus hoarder is initially distrustful of your exposition and then transported at this epiphany. Appreciation without condition? What a winsome novelty. It's not like that where I come from. Before London, long before, they just take and take and take. Teeth slant into view. But that's acceptable. I take their things too. Whose things? And where did it come from? Here,
wilderness, lush and velveted with so many treasures, so many hungry tastes. There were others with me, yes, but none of them as clever as me. I know how to make immortality. I know how to make collections that last.
Its ears flatten.
This is why I must be careful. Be small now.
Well, that's exceedingly spooky. But what does it care about? Perhaps we'll find common ground.
I have a dream.
It confides, picking at the hem of its scarlet cloak. An ear, long and velveteen, droops from its cowl. Oh, excuse me, this is a hard voice to do.
An old dream. An excellent dream. I would make my collection perfect. To do this, there is a corpse that I must visit. Your kind named it Faith's Fall. Appropriate, I think. If I could travel there, if I had help and bronzewood, I could build the thing that I need.
For a moment, its eyes are the universe, garbled and glorious with stars.
But you couldn't spare the crew, or timber, or the time. Not for me, no, not for me.
It ducks its head. So, if we get 6 pieces of bronzewood and 5 spare crew to Faith's Fall, we can do something. And Faith's Fall is up by Hybris. That is here in the Reach. Perhaps the curators know each other, asking about Mr. Menagerie, one of the other 2 of these that we've met. Mr. Menagerie being the one that sells scouts, and then there's Mr. Penny's, the one up in Lustrum. Silence, not unlike a man trying to recall a favorite meal, overtakes the chiropterous hoarder for an interval. At last it brightens.
It sells delicious things.
What happened to the other masters of Old London?
Her Majesty came to regret her arrangement with us. She reneged and fled the Fifth City for the sky. Most of my colleagues remained behind, fat and sleek and content at the heart of the Sixth City. But a few of us languished long enough in dark. We saw a chance to return home to the heavens. So, in secret, a few of us followed you to the sky. Most of us did so quietly. One of us made too much noise, and her renewed majesty overheard. It has a job now.
The hoarder sniffs.
Tragic.
Alright, that's enough. We have our quest with them. Let's check in on our aunt after whatever that was at Caroline. What was all that about at St. Dunstan's? What's got her so shaken up at Caroline?
When I was a girl, I used to do a bit of spying for the crown. Now, I've been out of the trade for years, but I couldn't help but overhear an intriguing conversation. People rarely pay attention to ladies of my age.
She gives you a look, as though daring you to disagree.
They said revolutionaries helped our government conquer Albion. They mentioned a secret rendezvous at St. Dustin's between four representatives: a new sequencer, a revolutionary, and two members of Her Majesty's government. I have to get to the bottom of this. It is my duty.
She tilts her head defiantly.
I've a friend at Port Prosper who owes me a favor, and we can get lunch.
So we are going to lunch at Port Prosper. Again, a place we just were, but at least it is in fact in this region of the sky. So, we do our best. We don't have anything new to do with him because we needed bronzewood to proceed with that in London. The Amiable Vagabond. We went to Port Avon last time, talked to his band of Skylarks, and now he appears to be uncharacteristically morose. Maybe we could cheer him up. Since he left Port Avon, the Vagabond has limited his fiddle playing to the most melancholy refrains. Every time, it leaves the boiler man in such a tearful mess that he has to abandon his duties. You share a drink and a few stories with the Vagabond, hoping to get to the root of the matter. Even among Skylarks, I don't feel quite at home, he says. Can't stop thinking about my old homestead in Lustrum. Perhaps we could visit there someday? Captain, take this flask away from me. Whiskey and nostalgia is a dangerous combination. So, when we go to Lustrum, we could go visit his old homestead. Chief engineer. To go to Old Tom's Well, we knew that. What are the Wreck Brigade up to? We got the thing we needed in Carillon for them. They know the location of Sarge's vault. They don't seem to want to leave your locomotive, and they need numbers to the account. Where do they think they'll find them? The air is thick with the scent of jasmine. The rats have acquired a hookah pipe and are reminiscing over their lost Sarge. Albrecht twitches his immaculate whiskers. We need to find Vilma, our strategist, but it will be awkward. She was Cinder's paramour. There's a snort from somewhere in the nest. Albrecht continues. We lost touch with the others, but Vilma will know where they are. And when we open the vault, you will have a share, of course. The last I heard, Vilma was residing at Perdurance as a pet. Albrecht's expression speaks volumes. Again, with the places we just were, but on the other hand, we had to go to Carillon before we could learn this, so not the end of the world. Albrecht has sunk in gloom, but Petronella may take up the story. Petronella takes up the thread, frowning over her glasses.
So we had a new boss, the lieutenant now. He wanted the admiration of command. But the Tackities and the Stovies didn't trust us because we was mercs. Just rats, right? We did eventually get a lucrative contract from the Tackities to sabotage the governor's engine to stop her fleeing from New Winchester. Risky. Who else had the know-how to get it done, right?
Her question is rhetorical. Her smile is proud. She pauses.
Or some other time, I think.
So, that's that. And then, of course, we have our Skywarn urchin and our inadvisably large dog. While we're at it, let us pat the dog. Lovely. Okay, so lots and lots of storylets there. Thank you for bearing with me as I spent 20 minutes just talking to my officers. But this gives us a better sense of where we need to go. We need to kill a Kantareki and prize off its legs. We need to get some chorister bee souls. He's off on secondment right now. I kicked him off the ship. We can go turn in this stuff, although we could get a chorister bee wing as well. And for the hunting club, circles. So yeah. So I think first place is first. We're gonna go back to the nature reserve. I believe Old Tom's Well is right over by there as well. Also a good place to get chorister bee wings and souls and all the things. So I think we're gonna head back to our Sun Reserve and see where that gets us. Just as a reminder of our map, Port Avon, Titania, the Nature Reserve, Polymer and Planties, Hybris, the Eleutheria Gate I think is over here somewhere, Port Prosper, Magdalene's, Lustrum, Carillon, and I believe there's one more back in here somewhere that we have not yet found. So let's go this way around. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Except we are making a very silly mistake because we did not buy fuel. Forgetting the basics. We will make it no distance at all if we do not purchase fuel and supplies. Much better. And we may have port reports. We're gonna also turn in port reports. Visit the Windward Company, deliver our port reports. We have 4. Look at us getting money. Alrighty. I don't think we need any of these things right now. We really just needed to turn in our port reports, pick up some cash, and we will proceed on our locomotive. Bit of a stutter there. Make sure we're still on the right track. We are. I feel like we're actually slightly slower than we were before, which would make sense. This is a bigger engine and we have, or a bigger locomotive, and we have not upgraded our engine. So we'll see how well we do with acquiring money, because it would be nice to be able to travel a little bit faster, even if it does burn through our fuel a little bit faster as well. But also I want to go to Eleutheria, so we will see how we do. Village rested in within looming pre-human ruin. I'm gonna share some gossip with them. We have plenty, which will allow us to write a port report and see what's happening in the village today. Nothing too terribly much, it looks like. I'm good on all of that. Yeah, so down to Titania, I think. We could loop around the long way here. But it loops back around over here somewhere. I would like to find the last port, so we're gonna head off in this direction and hopefully be able to loop around to connect back up with the nature reserve before too terribly long. Titanium. Gonna go deep to the heart of, I guess, the woods? There can be woods in the sky, right? That makes sense? So pretty. Ugh. I don't know where we're going though, which is always concerning. Get out of it. Okay, well, that's terrible. What the heck? Ow. Okay, right. So that thing was called a colonized Cantaraki. So the little, like, skyfish? Apparently sometimes they could get a fungal infestation and turn into that monstrosity. So we're gonna leave those two to fight each other all by their lonesomeness, and we're gonna go over here. It's very spooky. Anything out here? Where we start getting a bunch of rocks. Another one. Oh, jeez. Scribe Spinster, leave me alone. You're the heart of the woods, silent and solemn. Dead end. Shoot. Oh, that's cool. It's very cool, but I didn't really want to find a dead end. Oh, jeez. Uh-oh. That's very bad news. Ah, shoot. Go, 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 go. Shoot. Uh-oh. This is why I don't like going off the paths I already know. Luckily, our hull is now 60, not 30, because we would be almost dead otherwise.
Oh boy.
So, very glad we have an upgraded train for this exploration. And if we're lucky here, we will also level up. Let's see if we can find... Oh hey, forester bees. You probably can fight these, actually. These aren't too bad. Yeah, okay. Okay. We are going to grab one for wings for that one. Jeez. Great, great, great. Jeez.
Risky.
We want this one. Alright. We're not gonna fight any more Forester Beast. We took a lot of damage doing that. Yes, my general combat strategy is just drive backwards and hope. It's pretty, though. And that thing we just passed, if I had mining, I could have gotten, bronzewood, but I don't have mining, so I cannot. There are a lot of things back here that would like me to cease to be alive. Not here for it. It's just another mine. Okay. Oof. We're way back in it. Whoa, what's that? Ah, it's the wreck of the Parzival. Okay, this is a cool storyline. I like this one. The engine drifts unhappily through the sky. Its hull has been split by an eruption of corpse-white fungus from inside. The name Parzival can be made out in brass letters on its side.
The first engine through the avid horizon,
A navigator whispers.
London's pride. She was captained by Lieutenant Commander Percy Blythe, and her mission was to chart new horizons beyond Albion. But she never came back.
So what happened to the first engine in the high wilderness? Its doors are sealed, its lights dim. It drifts in the currents, mangled by fungal extrusions. Bolt cutters and pry bars are required to break the outer door. Its locking mechanism is antiquated and slickened by an oily substance. You wrench the door open and are immediately greeted with a cloud of yellowing spores. Your vision blurs just as your navigator torches them, igniting the air with burning fungus. A few gaslights flicker on the walls. The scratchy sounds of a gramophone can be heard.
Pust did brood upon the chaos dark and rude, and bid its angry tumult cease, and give, for wild confusion, peace. O hear us when they cry to thee, for those in peril on the sea.
Spores drift through the broken carriages like dying fireflies. Recruitment posters bearing Her Majesty's face moulder on the walls. Music, scratchy but distant, echoes through the empty carriages. A great wall of pulsing fungus separates the back of the engine from the front. And the first designs for London's engines, the captain always roomed towards the back of the train, for their protection. Plush seats surround a decaying paper map placed on a mahogany table. Drinks, some floating with mildew, have been poured in glasses around the table. Maps hang from sprouting fronds like peeling wallpaper. Spores float gently through the room. Logbooks lie scattered about the table. None date from after 1897, excuse me. For the record, it is currently 1905, so they have been missing for 8 years? The engine's destination was to be Trader's Wood. The last entry regards a stop at Hybris, which they named High Brazil. Something was brought aboard. The captain's bunk has collapsed into a pile of rotten wood and infected bedsheets, wet with fungal growths. Here come the grenadiers, my boys, who know no doubts or fears, then sing tow, row, 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 the British grenadiers. An explorer engine like the Parzival would have been stopped for all eventualities. The solid iron walls of the armory are stained and rotted with sporing bodies. Lockers hang open, revealing decaying and antiquated skysuits. The old design with thermal chestplate and brass buttons for fastenings. Several of your crew Several of your crew coo appreciatively, but black away when prodding one of the suit reveals a fruiting colony of golden black mushrooms that sprouted within. Amongst the outdated and unused weaponry, you discover a trove of novels, fanciful stuff, but all concerned with the possibilities of space travel and the interaction between modern man and the alien. Shivering spasms of festering fungus separate the front of the train from the rest. The only way forward is through. You organize your hardiest stokers into a rota, slowly but steadily widening the gap between the pallid walls of quivering fungal flesh. The smell is direful, as are the ominous bulges protruding from the mushroom bulk. Thanks to your capable direction, however, a wide path is cleared straight through the fungus, bisecting it like two lungs separated by the trachea. You pass through, unharmed. Still more majestic shalt thou rise, more dreadful from each foreign stroke, as the loud blast that tears the skies sever but to root thy native oak. The front of the engine is even more infected with sprouting mushrooms and sporing fungal growths. The engine room lies ahead, seemingly the source of the persistent movement. Before that, however, is a haze of spores, rendering the corridor ahead entirely noxious. In a locomotive as old as this, the crew were always assigned bunks near the engine room. The sounds of the gramophone are louder here. Battered metal and tormented oak paneling comprise the confines in which the crew dwelt. Chubby toadstools, round as pastries, dot the cramped bulkheads. Mementos of home are scattered around the fruiting debris. Slim volumes of Arnold and Blake, vials of honey, and engravings of simple domestic scenes can be found under every bunk. You also uncover a little tally chart on a folded bit of paper. It seems the crew were organizing a whip round for their commander's retirement present. They'd settled on a plot of land on Port Prosper. When Britain first, at heaven's command, arose out from the azure main, this was the charter of the land, and guardian angels sang this strain. Fruiting sects send clouds of vitrolic orange into the air. Passing through will be hazardous to the health. The engine room is just beyond. You go alone. Your crew disappear behind you, lost in an haze of orange and gold. Above, sacks of sporing fungus encrusted to the metalwork begin to erupt. Showers of spore and viscous liquids render the terrain still more hazardous. You feel a peculiar sensation. Your hands tingle as though wishing to reach out to touch the fungus, as though for one more drink. You increase your speed. There is a cry behind you. You turn to see one of your crew, a particularly distractible signaler, has entered the Mismia after you. Her hands hover over a mound of virulent gold fungus, as though transfixed. You call out, risking spores entering your mouth, and begin to run. Your signature flinches and draws back just as the fungus pops, emitting an iridescent cloud. You see briefly an image of an old marshy place, bedecked with sprawling fungus. A large room, tower of a wobbling mushroom. A word enters your head. Mother. You come to with your signaler crouched over you. You send her back to safety. You're fine. You're fine. You press on. In thee our hopes we fix. God save us all. The engine room is before you. Light and music spill from under the door, queasy and persistent. The thick steel door is scored with bullet holes and is held in place by tendrils of ropey white fungus. As you approach, you notice the damage done to the walls, riddled with bullets, old stains on the carpet. An attack was mounted on the engine room. You can hear the music loud and clear from inside. An eerie green light pours through the hinges like flood water. You push open the door. The engine room is cold as a sunless sky. It's the title of the game. Your breath hangs in long chains before you. The boiler is off. The infernal gramophone sits atop the boiler. The music is no better for being closer to it. Before you lies a dance macabre of fungus and corpses, hand in front. On the wall suspended by a fungus is a body in a captain's uniform. What happened here? The corpses bear bullet wounds. They are unmarred by fungus, decaying in peace. Amongst the rank insignia, you spot a first officer, a chief engineer, and a conductor. All died violent deaths. There are far too few to amount to the full crew. The boiler, a battered, antiquated, wheezing contraption, stands silent and broken. Strips of iron hang in front of it, as though it had suffered an explosion. Inside you find fungus amid the ashes, clumps and clusters of tendrils that sprout from the charcoal. When burnt, the spores would have infected the whole engine. Still more majestic shalt thou rise, more dreadful from each foreign stroke, as the loud blast that tears the sky serves but to reach thy native oak. Here lies all that remains of Lieutenant Commander Percy Blythe. The corpse of the finest officer of his generation hangs from the wall, suspended by loops of pale fronds. His skin is sallow, and strands of golden fungus crawl beneath it. His eyes open. Percy Blythe looks down on you. Blue fruiting mushrooms speckle his beard. Next to him, the gramophone crackles out dreary anthems of years past. His mouth opens too wide as he speaks. Straw cracks. He is still alive. Hello, Werps. Thank you for the follow. He groans. His mouth opens impossibly wide, and a cloud of yellow spores emerged. I am all that is left. An oily liquid begins to drip from his left eye. I am a child of the grave garden. The voice alters, becoming more clipped, more static, like those of the voices of the gramophone. I am Lieutenant Commander Percy Blythe, Captain of the Parzival. My task was to explore the wilderness and to return home with new discoveries. He groans, as though weeping. I am all that remains. I want to go home. How did the Percival end up in this condition? We met the children on Hybris. We sought to know each other, wanted to go to the woods, wanted to see what was kept from us. Percy is drooling as he speaks. The gramophone clicks as yet another patriotic dirge begins to play. Percy Blythe struggles in his bonds, pulling himself up to stand a little straighter. We made contact on Hybris. The fungus was so bright, so beautiful. His eyes shine gold. I brought it aboard, God forgive me. I wanted the crew to see, to know. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Some came willing, others refused to join us. We had to. He breaks off into silence, staring away into the middle distance. Yes, Werps, I have played Sunless Sea. I've played all of the games that Failbetter has released, and enjoy all of them, but this is probably my favorite of them so far. I really like Sunless Skies. Percy Blythe launches into a long, meandering, slurred story of children and gardens, of a cruel king who needed but did not love his subjects, despite their love for him, of knowledge denied and of growth checked, of tyranny and freedom, of grief and betrayal and longing. Music bursts into sudden life. Percy jerks and fixes you with an infected eye. I was stupid. I thought we would be welcome here, and we were. We were welcomed. We were loved. The children, the Verdants, they wanted us. He began to sob. It is a sad, squelching sound. You approach gingerly, fishing a handkerchief from your pocket. Reaching up, you begin to dab at the early tears that scour the lieutenant commander's face. Beneath the crime, you can see Percy's flesh is remarkably well preserved, saved for the vibrant tendrils of golden fungus running beneath the skin. Thank you. Lieutenant Commander Percy Blythe lets out a low moan and slumps forward. The chains of fungus adjust to accommodate this despair. Oh, he slurs like a drunk man demanding another drink. On Hybris, Mother spored us there. She set out her children across the stars to learn. Traitors would. We were forbidden from entering there, but now its king is dead. But this craft failed before we could arrive. The body jerks as though shocked. Percy's face rises to face you. London, he grasps. London. Cannot continue. Lieutenant Commander Percy Blythe, decorated hero of London's forces, first captain through the Abbot Horizon, gazes at you, slack-jawed and unseeing. Please, he rasps, take me home or finish this. He just wanted to know what was kept from us on Traitor's Wood. Why did our king not love his children? Yeah, I can see in Sunless Seas increasing the game speed to make it go quite a bit faster. It gets a little bit tedious, especially in the early game. The ship is not fast. Not that my locomotive in this game is currently very fast. We're still fairly early on. We're on our first captain, exploring. We've been to Albion. We've been to around most of the Reach, although I just found this, obviously. But we just bought our first locomotive upgrade, so definitely still a long, long way to go before we're actually good or fast. Let's take him. I've done this one before. I've done this one before. Let's take him to Trader's Wood this time. The remnant of Percy Blythe does not appear to register your response. His head bobs with the tilting of the locomotive. You begin cutting the body down. It is a task made only more difficult by the discovery that most of the far wall, in fact, a rubbery short of mushroom, whose weak yellow flesh is entirely embedded in Blythe's back. You are forced to cut down a whole section of the wall, exposing the metal shell of the Parzival, and carry Blythe out upon it. On board your engine he mutters and twitches, as though diminished by the separation. You leave the Parzival drifting alone in the sky. Crashed into it. Alright, where are we? Where's Trader's Wood in this map? Be over here somewhere. Okay. Oh, and it's too spooky. I've been really impressed too. I've played, or started playing this game, Sunless Skies, when it first came out, I think, or slightly after, because I suspected I'd liked it. I'd liked most everything else Fail Better had made to that point. But I've been really impressed with the work they've done in the most recent update with the Sovereign Edition. I really like the new facet system. I think it's a good improvement. Sort of discourages you from min-maxing quite as much, which I prefer. And I think some of the new story elements, I haven't seen very many of them yet. Like I said, I'm still fairly early on, but I am looking forward to discovering a lot more of them as we get to some of the other regions and get a little bit deeper in. Uh, it will be very fun to see everything they've added, and those changes that I have encountered thus far have been really good quality of life improvements for the game. Oh, that links up to Titania. Okay, that's good to know. Yes, yes, bees. Right, more bees. I already fought bees. So what's happening on Titania? The report. Oh yeah, definitely. The UI in this game is much cleaner and has only improved over the past couple of years as they've continued to update the game. Uh, I will be curious to see if they continue to do any content. I think Sovereign Edition may be kind of where they call it with Sunless Skies, especially since I know Mask of the Rose, which will be their, what is it, like a visual novel dating sim style game set in the original Fallen London portion of the timeline. I am very much looking forward to that game. I think it will be a lot of fun, and that's due to come out either late this year or early next year. But I think it'll be good to get a change of pace from these more sort of tootle around and read a bunch of stories. I think it'll have a little bit more consistent of a pace, because while this one is a big improvement over Seas, it can still drag a bit when you're just trying to find the next port. Somewhere amidst the garrets and galleries of Titania hide the Midnight Rose. They make red honey, an old London vice. The manner of its creation is a secret, but rumored to require a bead. Bleh, I forgot how to talk. But is rumored to require a breed of rose, first grown in hell, bees, and memories harvest from caged subjects. Imbibing red honey allows you to live those memories, to ransack the contents of another's heart. And just try to search for clues. I mean, the princess probably knows, but let's try. Alas. People are unquestionably aware of the rose, but share nothing. Curiously, they don't seem afraid of the rose. Instead, they seem protective, as if it was something sacred and precious. You will have to pursue alternate methods. I'll ask the princess.
Oh, honey made me the woman I am today, she says, with a secretive smile. I'd be happy to help.
She strides from saloon to saloon, letting a crowd of adoring poets, artists, and addicts flock to her. Within an hour, she has secured you an introduction. A precarious descent of ladders leads down into the hideout of the Midnight Rose, a spiral of rickety platforms clinging to the great orchid's stalk. There the Rose have constructed an edifice of glass, something between an orangery and a cowshed. It hums with bees and shivers with sobbing. The Midnight Rose are a close-knit coterie that produce precise vintages of red honey. If you want to taste the bleak If you want to taste the bleak memories of an orphan or the excesses of a reckless libertine, they are able to provide. Their leader is an ethereal aperist whose laced gowns are stained at the hem with grass and soil. Bees crawl lazily in her red hair. Yeah, I agree. The combat is definitely better. But at this point, I only have the weapon from the starting locomotive, which is extremely bad. So I'm not very well equipped to fight enemies. So I am mostly dodging them at this point. I've fought a couple chorister bees and one cantoreki and left basically everything else alone. That will change once I get just a little bit more money and can buy a second weapon. But yeah, for right now, I am avoiding enemies in favor of making progress deeper into the storylets of the game. The revenue men. They've appointed a new captain to patrol the skies nearby. He used to be one of the gentlemen, the smugglers who operate out of Pan, and he knows all the tricks. Inconvenient. You'll need to find a way to circumvent this canny captain. I'm gonna keep my unlicensed chart for a different quest. I only have one right now. I'll come back to that later. Attend the exhibition. Reduce my terror, because it's too high. Okay. I can pick an Eleutherian aesthetic or an Albion style. I'm gonna hold off on this because I do actually want to. I've done the Albion style in the past. I have not yet been to Eleutheria in this, or honestly any run. Um, I got really stuck in some of my earlier playthroughs, just like doing every single story in Albion in the Reach, so I've been too cautious to explore all the regions. But this time, my goal is, hopefully before I wind up today, to at least go to the Eleutheria Transit Relay and start exploring there, which will almost certainly get me to the end of this particular captain, but it'll be worth it. It'll be fun to explore a new area. I cannot combat. Oh, I don't want to do that. Chops. That. Grab some more fuel. Grab some more supply. Okay. I wonder if there's a more direct path down here. Let's go find out. Seems unpromising. Yep, okay. That's what I thought, was that Titania's basically in a little bubble with only a couple ways in or out. I'm okay with that, because it's very pretty. I don't know why I sent out my scout. I don't think there's anything to discover. Hey, there is. Oh no, it's just that there's a forester nest up there. I did know that already. I'm gonna leave that one alone for right now, though. These bees alone. Just because my hull's a little bit lower than I'd like. I fought some forester bees earlier, and it didn't go especially well. My train is too slow. These. Aw, dang. Alright. You are in possession of a certain otherworldly artifact that has begun to appear persistently in your dreams. Never prominent, but always present, set innocuously on the mantelpiece, half hidden in a shadowed corner, carried casually by a loved one. Oh, we can burn it. We can increase our terror further, or we can smash it. I have like 3 or 4 of these right now, so I think right now going from no nightmares to slight nightmares is probably my best bet, because that also gets our terror down quite a bit. Yeah, I did have 4, so I still have 3. That's not the worst. Alright. Fortunately, well, that's hopeful. We didn't need that. Peacock Wind is kind of blocking our path right now, which I could try to sail through, or I could just try to sail around. That's a great question. I only started streaming a couple weeks ago. I've mostly been playing this just because that's what I've been in the mood for. But I plan to play quite a few games with interesting narratives. So I have been playing some Griftlands, which is Clay's new Rogue Builder Decklight game. Um, and then with the Steam Summer Sale, I've just picked up quite a new games that I have missed in the past. So probably we'll do some FTL just because I really enjoy that game. It's kind of a chill stream, but picked up some of the old BioWare Star Wars games, which should be fun. It's sort of a more narrative RPG style game. Looking to play some other kind of spooky games at some point, so haven't totally worked it out. I kind of play it by ear based on what I'm in the mood for, but so far it's been primarily just Sunless, guys. But if you have any suggestions for other games I may like, I'm always interested in finding more interesting narrative. I like games with good stories and talking about why those stories are good. Hey, seriously, where else does this link up? I want to go this way. Go all the way around to get there, though. Right, well, just have to go somewhere else until the Peacock Wind leaves. But yeah, this game kind of hits my sweet spot for kinds of games I enjoy. But I do. Actually, Hades is another one that I want to play on stream at some point. I really enjoy the way they've done narration in that game, and the combat system is really slick. I really like Supergiant's games as well, so I'll probably start a new run of Hades at some point and play that on stream. That'll be fun. Yeah, I don't think I've met hardly anyone who hasn't at least enjoyed watching Hades, if not playing it. They did a fantastic job with that game. I might go revisit Crypt of the Necrodancer at some point as well. That's also a really fun roguelite rhythm game. It's one of the earlier ones of that particular niche genre. Not quite as narrative, but very fun. I'm very bad at it, but I'm very bad at most video games. This one's easy because all I have to do is read and not crash. Going the wrong way again. Yeah, Necrodancer, if you don't enjoy the rhythm genre as much, definitely can be a little tough. I always have enjoyed rhythm games. I've been a I've played music for most of my life, so that aspect of it is something I enjoyed, but, oh, what was the game called? I think it's only on the Switch? Cadence of Hyrule. It's a crossover between Necrodancer and The Legend of Zelda. I have no idea why they made it, but that one I really enjoyed. It kind of tightens up a lot of the mechanics in Necrodancer, and it was just a lot of fun. Had a little bit more story, a little bit more detail to it because it's using a lot of elements from The Legend of Zelda. Oh, it's super funny. It's a really good time. Or I thought so. Again, if rhythm games aren't as much your jam, it may still not be for you, but I will recommend that one. I think Cadence of Hyrule is a very entertaining time, and it's a short play. It's only, I don't know, maybe 5 hours. Lots of replay value, though. If I can figure out how to make my Switch talk to the computer, I may try to stream that one, but I'm still figuring out how to do this whole streaming thing at all. So, well, that might be further down the road once I've got a little bit of a better setup. What am I doing here? Why did I come here? Oh, to fix my train. Yeah, I don't have enough yet. Will say, the way that the map has shaped up in this run of Sunless Skies is not as good as the way the map shaped up in my previous lineage. It's much harder for me to just make a nice, concise trade loop and go to basically all the ports in one circle. It was very easy last time, and I've got a little bit spoiled by it. Alright. To go here. See if it'll let me know. want that hold upgrade. My reader of books? Yes, I have a unreasonably large book collection. I tend to read a lot of YA, a lot of sort of sci-fi, old sci-fi, lots of fantasy. I've been reading a lot of Brandon Sanderson's books recently, and really, really enjoy his work. Excellent. Well, I am glad to find a kindred spirit in terms of both video game and book tastes. Anything in particular you've read recently? As with game recommendations, I'm always looking for new book recommendations. That they do not run out. Not that this is a real problem, but I haven't really gotten into web novels too much at this point, but certainly something to look into. Any particular ones you would recommend as a place to start? Go to the nature preserve now, which is helpful because I have a whole lot of stuff to turn in here, which I believe is a very good reward quest. And then I want to go down to Old Townsville. Why had I not discovered that yet? Very silly. What are the mysteries? I'll have to look it up. Excellent. Thank you for the recommendation. Alright. Let's grab a new facet. What are our choices right now? Scandal. Spiritford. Family Footsteps. Below the Stairs. Or an interlude in red and gold. In our family's footsteps. The way you turned out came as little surprise to those around you. Cast from a mold, they said, but which of your family's qualities do you embody? Their virtues or their vices? A bit more veils. just continue to have that be our very bad stat. Get with our mirrors. Some inherit wealth. You inherited character. Good breeding, people said. Well, perhaps, but you've always been a keen observer and learned quickly. Right. We are up to level 8. Excellent. An opportunistic ranger smiles a mostly toothless grin and shows off his many scars from the beasts of the nature preserve. Yeah, I'll give it a shot. What's the worst that happens? We fail? Oops. I cursed it. You head into the reserve ready to stalk your prey, only to find it ready and waiting for you. A desperate chase later, you find yourself hiding behind a bush as something sniffs the air, thankfully losing your trail and heading back to its den. Whoopsie. Let's gather a report. I actually just, like, last week finished Rhythm of War, the most recent of the Stormlight Archive books. So I am all caught up with that, with the exception of the one novella that is between Oathbringer and Rhythm of War, I think. There is a lot currently happening in those books. Um, yeah, that's totally fair. I won't talk about anything that's happened in the most recent book because I know a lot of people have not yet had the opportunity to get through it. But yeah, I think he's taking a bit of a bigger gap between books 5 and 6. So, and 6 will sort of start up in a different place is what he has said thus far. So I would say 1 through 5 will probably be a good chunk once those are done. But that's probably another 2 years out, given that Rhythm of War just came out, what, 6 months ago? Have you read any of his other books? Alright, so 15 days we'll come back here to get the results of the research. So it is November the 6th, so what would that be? November 21st? Yep. So we'll get those. Shop. Now we'll get a fuel. Supplies. Alright. Reckoners and Mistborn. Yeah, definitely both really good series. And I agree. The way that he does like magic or powers in the books is really unique. I haven't read someone else who has quite as interesting a view of how to play that and have it work with technology and science. So it's always fun trying to like puzzle out what are the rules of any of his particular magic systems. I think other than his graphic novel, White Sands, I've read everything that he's got published. Oh, okay, he came from the Wheel of Time series. Awesome. Yeah, I guess those are the ones that I haven't read, is the conclusion of Wheel of Time. Seems like one of those series I should have read, but I just missed it somewhere along the way, and haven't quite had the time to take on a new 15-book epic series recently. Okay, where did Okay, awesome. Um, yeah, audiobooks can be good. Over the past year, I haven't had much of a commute, so I haven't had as much time for audiobooks, but once that changes, that would be a good way to pick that one back up. Or up for the first time, I guess. I haven't started it. What am I looking for? There's my journal. Athletic researcher. I want incautious driver. Old Tomswell, west southwest of New Winchester. So that's going to be Chester, west southwest, this direction. Let's go to Old Tomswell. Let's try to. May not succeed. If you're ever on the lookout for another author that has some really interesting sorts of magic systems, I also really like basically everything by Garth Nix, but particularly the first three Abhorsen books and what is this sci-fi one called? Shade's Children. Um, have some. Shade's Children is a sci-fi. Abhorsen is more of a fantasy. But they are both really interesting books as well. And Shade's Children is just a standalone, so it's a pretty easy investment of a book to just see if you like his writing style, if that's something you haven't read before. But I very much enjoy the way that he writes. Alex Versus. I don't think I'm familiar with that one. No, I'll have to look that one up as well. Let's go this way. Oh yeah, here we go. This shiny thing that I did not earn. Story. Crash into the wall. Get these. And we need 3 of these for the incognito princess. Excellent. Alright. There. I did a little bit of combat. The smallest amount possible, but technically some. Over here. I'm in the wrong spot. Oh yeah, approach. There we go. Below, beneath the scuttling clouds, a speckle of structures cling to a shelf of ice. The well winds drag at your engine like the frantic clutch of a drowning man. The well gapes. Alright. Luckily we have a lot of that resource, so we had a 100% chance of success there. Down through the tearing mists, through the whipped particulates that thunder on your hull, through the shrieking winds which fall abruptly still. A ledge of black ice has accreted over centuries at the well's edge, with a raised lip that affords a sliver of shelter. A handful of beehive huts huddle around a crude church. They are built from roughly chopped blocks of the same black ice that forms the shelf around the well. Old Tom was a prospector during the promised days that followed London's arrival in the heavens. For years he combed the reach looking for the strike that would make him rich. He didn't find it. Luckless and impoverished, he made a wish here at the well. The next month he discovered the mother of mountains and the rich hour veins that riddled her flanks. For a year before his disappearance, he was staggeringly wealthy. Others come here now, the desperate and the broken, with their final and futile wishes. This fungal sentience colonizing their mind has led them here. But why? The incautious driver strides to the very lip of the well and leans precariously out to stare into the depths. The well winds pluck at them. You grab a handful of their coat, just in case. Can you see 'em, Captain? Glimmering in the dark? The bones of the sun. The driver looks back at you, their eyes suddenly green as old emeralds. A messenger came, inscribed with signs of peace, but it bore a well seed. Murder beneath the arches of heaven. The driver's balance shifts. They lurch, and you pull them back onto the gritty ice. When they look up, their eyes have returned to their customary blue. Thank you. My head is feeling very crowded. But the impulse has changed now. I need to return to the nature preserve. Its home is there? Or its parents? Its master? Not sure. I don't speak fungus. Alright, well, we have to head back to the nature preserve here relatively soon anyway. But let's see what else is here before we leave. Inside the church, the pews are carved from the ice. A ragged handful of supplicants sit upon them, bitten by the bone-bleak cold. On the altar, a single precious candle burns. A lank minister reads from a dog-eared scrap of paper. As he clothes himself with cursing like as with his garment, so let it come to his bowels like water, and like oil into his bones. Her cheekbones are as sharp as flint axe heads. Her skin is pocked by the cold. Her gaze judgmental. Once her dress was elaborate and fair. Now the hems are frayed. Much of the lace has stiffened with frost and snapped off. Her hair is tied in a greasy bun. Well? To the question where I'm from, I'm based in the western US. They are not for the unconfirmed. If you want to partake of our rites, you must join our congregation. And if you want to join our congregation, you must convince me that you are one of us. A confession. Only then would you be permitted to take the right of wrongs. We are not concerned with crimes you may have committed or temptations you wrestle with, the minister mutters. This is a confession of weakness. You are here because you were wronged, because you bear a grievance you cannot forgive. You are here to ask for all God's vengeance on someone. So tell me, who is to blame? We can, if we choose, spin a tale of injustice or excuse ourselves. We have the moment of inspiration. Let's give it a try. The minister nods thoughtfully. She is moved, you think. They've rewarded you evil for good, she hisses, and hatred for love. She gnaws on her knuckle until the skin splits, then smears the blood on your lips. A wolf resides within this lamb. A sword sleeps within this plowshare. A curse coils within this prayer. Let your grievance be heard, and let your enemies' days be few. Amen, a couple of people in the congregation remember to mutter. We can do a rite that would increase our iron at the cost of our hearts and mirrors. Our iron's already pretty good. We're gonna leave it for now, but we have the option to come back and do this later if we want, which is awesome. Oh, cool. Yeah, Sabriel is the first of the Abhorsen books. I used to call it the Abhorsen trilogy because it was a trilogy for a long time, but he's added 2 books to it so far, and a third is on the way pretty soon. Well, they're all Old Kingdom books. The trilogy sort of stands, but he's expanded the world quite a bit more. Alright, let's leave Old Tomesville. It's spooky here. I'll be late. Goodbye. Why is everything here spooky? Fight each other. We all out of it. That's a lucky dodge. Alright. Then what, the 21st of November? So we're gonna explore a bit more before we head back to the nature preserve. I think there's more down here that we haven't seen yet. Oops. Okay. Probably go for about another hour here. I do still want to make it to Eleutheria. I may just go for it, even though I'm very poorly equipped, which is almost certainly a mistake, but I can always come back later. Hopefully I can always come back later. I would assume you can. I don't know why it would lock me in an area, at least not permanently, maybe temporarily. But I do want to go to the next region and figure some stuff out, so... Oh, this is the massive chorister beehive, that's right. Man, just as I rediscovered this map, I'm just consistently impressed with how much more dynamic the art is in this game than it was in Sunless Skies. Like, that game was mostly dark. Just there were a couple really pretty places, but most everything was just kind of dark. Whereas in this one, just everywhere is absolutely gorgeous. The winds take us. Where are we going? Ooh, we succeeded. You are born to an ancient wreck, silent in the frosty hollow of the sky. It wears a jacket of untouched frost. The winds die. Then there, in the heaven's treasures, a cold canister of steel and bronze wood, a handful of corpses, and the cargo and possessions they bore to their grave. So the waste waif is uninterested in us again, and we've gained a vision of the heavens. Oh, and we can try to get something here. Let's see if we can go inside. Here we go. Your driver pulls your locomotive alongside the wreck, close enough for you to leap from one to the other. The floor of the bridge is carpeted with glass fragments. It shines like stars in your lamplight, and twinkles like bells when your boots brush it. A sky chest nailed to the floor at the back of the bridge yields to your efforts. Fragile contents, do not shake, upend, or discommode. Okay, we're gonna mess with it. Oh, it's a pane of stained glass. Excellent. Very pretty. Not very useful, but very pretty. Very valuable, though. If we do end up going back to London, that is a commonly asked for resource, and even if not, we can sell it for, like... 200 gold or something? Or sovereigns? I call money in all games gold. That's what I get for playing too much D&D. Actually, it's all of the forester bees in the world. Cool. Alright, we've been to Old Tom's Well now, we've been to the gardens now. Yeah, the road to Hybris is so long in this one. Yeah, gold is easy to say because everybody knows what I'm talking about, even if it's not thematically correct for the game. Like in Hades, I think they're obols, but I've never actually called them obols. They're just gold. It's gold or money. Dollary dues. But at the same time, I do appreciate, like, the world building that goes in to actually have your currency be something other than just generically gold. So, I'm torn on the matter. I am simultaneously invested and lazy. Alright, I know it's too soon to come back here, but there's just nothing else close. Alright, where do I need to go to do the thing? Here we go. Follow the incautious driver into the reserve. The fervency in their head drives them deep into the wilderness. Deep within the wilderness stands a mighty tree, shriveled and dry. A fungal growth twists around it, its blooms flecked with purple and black. The incautious driver approaches it, lying down in supplication. The verdant pulses, its buds splitting open and erupting in a spore fall that soon coats the driver in shimmering emerald dust. Several minutes, silence. When the driver emerges, their face is crestfallen. It wasn't enough. What I brought it was only half the story. It needs more. You escort them back to the train. They should be more coherent after a good meal and a few hours sleep. We can take a quick trip into the reserve, grab some free sky stories. Grab another fuel and supplies. Plus side, we do actually have enough for some of the upgrades now, so that's awesome. We still haven't found Trader's Wood, which I'm a little bit frustrated by. It's gotta be off this way. Maybe we'll try to go there. Let's go back up to Port Avon. Very frustrating. Could be blowing the other way too. That would also be fine. Less. Williams Oops. Okay, sure. Let's just interject a random event here in the middle of my battle with Chorister Beast. It is late, and you are alone. Doubts prey upon you. Is this the path you should have taken? You trespass upon the precincts of heaven. What price will be extracted of you? What price have you already paid? We've passed. Questions worry at you, chasing away sleep. Later, there is a knock at the door. One of your officers is outside. Captain, we need you. Duty calls. The doubts must wait. Alright, there's one set. Sweet! That will give us plenty of Chorister Bee souls, and then some. So I can head back up to Carillon now. Wait, no more Chorister Bees for a minute. Let's try and get honey. Partial success. Ah, we got money instead. Alrighty. That was successful. I even didn't take too terribly much damage in that. Need butchery for this? Yeah, I don't have that. I can't get those right now. I don't need to go back to Titania. There's nothing for me there. Up we go. Up towards Port Avon and hopefully Trader's Wood. I think I need like 12 bronze wood, which I do not have. But hopefully I can start to gather it up because I need some for the Chiropterous Hoarder quest. I need some for the Fatalistic Signalman quest. I need some just because it's good to have. Yeah, it's a lot of bronze wood. We'll get it eventually. It's just gonna take a while. Particularly the 6 that I have to take up. I don't have mining yet. No, that's one of the upgrades I need to get, because I need to get all of the upgrades. Once I get it, it becomes trivial, but right now it's a little bit of a challenge to get that much bronze wood without spending an inordinate amount of sovereigns on it. But we'll get there. It'll just take time. This is not a fast game. Grab a port report because it's easy money. It's a quiet day. I'll repair my ship for cheap, which is always nice. Polar supplies right now. Alright, so it wasn't this way. Let's try this way to get to Trader's Wood. That would be a good quest to initiate as well. Might run into a Terraki out here somewhere, which would also be good because I need to bring a leg of one of those back to Port Avon for the Polymere Plenty storylet. Basically, I have a lot of stories in progress right now, and I need a lot of things for them, and I have none of the things. Might be close on Tales of Terror, though. I might actually be able to do the first part of our ambition pretty soon. I'm pretty close. I know I had enough Sky Stories and... What do I need? Sky Stories, Tales of Terror, and one of the other basic story items. I don't remember what Which one? To the pale wood. See what's back here. Hey, there's what we're looking for. I knew we'd find it eventually. Back here. Sweet. The princess looks concerned. Why would you name a wood after a traitor? A sewer, maybe? Here, at the fort. Traitor's Wood is a sprawling, secluded forest on the edge of the Reach. Few venture beneath its gloomy boughs, and legend speaks of a king who sleeps under the barrow at the wood's heart. The wood is vast as a felled giant, and fathomless as a great ocean. Like the ocean, much of it is hidden from view. Careful expeditions are required to go deeper into the wood. The forest is rich and wild in the verdant species of the Reach. Exploring the starlight-dappled edges of the wood could be profitable. Let's go for a caged catch. Alas, I did not succeed. But I got a tale of terror. Ow, 3 crew. That's rough. A trail of cloven hoofprints lead into the wood. Taking your sharpest gunners, you track their maker. Gloom turns to dark as you head deeper into the forest. Twigs snap beneath your beat, as loud as breaking bones. The wood around you is entirely silent. How long has it been like that? There are fewer of you than there were. A stoker claims she can hear someone calling, but searching proves fruitless. Okay, we only need 6 to operate our engines, so 7 is okay. A campfire. 3 figures draped in scholars' robes huddle around a campfire. They are arguing about kings. A banner in the colors of Somerset, London University's most respectable college, gleams in the firelight. As you approach, the discussion dies. One of the scholars, a woman with a fierce expression, stands up. Only scholars should be here. Are you one? No, we are not. But perhaps a gift would persuade them to let you enter the camp. They look wretched camped out here. The vituperative classicist compares your offering with the burnt toast and wan tea they have been suffering on. Well, all right, I suppose. The woman is a virtupus classicist. Her companion's a dismal paleographer, a forlorn young man, and a feckless theologian, a handsome youth with an easy smile. They explain that they are here to enter the regent's grave, where they believe a sleeping king lies buried. They do not agree as to the king's identity. Unfortunately, the college has cut off funding, the classicist explains. Speak to us if you'd be interested in helping. The shadow of the barrow falls over the camp. A mournful wail carries on the wind. A cluster of scholars has set up camp on the border of the wood. Their funding gone, they struggle to continue their research into whoever is entombed at the regent's grave. The wind howls in the trees, and the skies threaten rain. The scholars huddle in their tents, brooding over papers and conspiring against their colleagues. Your inquiry induces a rare spirit of cooperation in the scholars. The last expedition into the woods found a document written in the correspondence. It explained directions to a place called the Steward's Fort, the theologian explains. Alas, that is all it needs to break their alliance. The paleographer begins to argue that the steward was the chief position in Charlemagne's household. The classicist makes a pointed reference to Inara's husband. The theologian's smile is forced. If you could find the font, it would be an immense boon to my work. There are splutters of protestation. Our work. With resupplies, I do not think we are going to start an expedition, so we're going to leave the scholars for now and see what else is happening here in the woods. Excellent. And this is where we can drop off Percy Blythe. The lieutenant commander of the Parzival has one last mission. His eyes are golden as, through reflected sunlight, his handshake is weak and his voice rasps. His periods of lucidity have been intermittent and fewer by the day. He is alert now. Captain, a reward. My medallions. He fumbles at his breast to unpin his stained medals. You are compelled to assist. He clutches your hand before turning to face the darkened wood. At last, we will know. A tremor passes through his body. I should not be here. I should not have been kept from here. He walks slowly into the pale wood. The trees bow as he passes, as though to embrace him. He does not look back. Report. Outside of the Somerset camp, the great forest of bronzewood trees has been untouched by human hands. Voices sound in the depths of the woods, forlorn and far away. The forest is vast and vastly lonely. And I think that is pretty much all that is to be had here in Trader's Wood for now. Oops, that is still not the map. So we might be able to hook around up to Carillon through here. We can find out. Undock. Back up. This way. I believe this is a reasonably safe path, as much as any path through any outer circle in this game is safe. Because while I do seem to be able to handle chorister bees and Cantariki right now, I am perpetually terrified of scribe spinsters. I have trouble with marauders and Skyman captains. The pipe dream, it's a funny name for the ship. An engineer cries out, her voice hoarse as a professional mourner. It's gone! She points through one of the stained glass windows. A star! It winked out. You look through the glass. Stars burn them on the firmament. The particular patch of sky she's pointing to is indeed empty, but you couldn't say if a star had been there before. Just give them some supplies. The prospect of brandy provokes a ragged cheer. Soon the crew have rosy faces and broad smiles. Your locomotive resounds to a lusty, if approximate, rendition of how the sailors lost their Z's. No one looks out of the windows, though. No one looks at stars. Alright, let's grab some stuff out of the sky chest. We got a barrel of unseasoned flowers. Beautiful. Is this going to be a dead end, though? That would be just our luck. Oh, look at that. It sure is. Let's see if it connects down over here. It certainly seems like it could, but I do recall that a lot of the areas here in the Reach do tend to dead end. Not as big a problem in Albion. That's a much more open area. But the Reach is all these tunnels through the sky, with just little glimpses out into the vastness beyond. I don't want to fight. No way. Not going away. Ah, here we go. This looks like a way it might link up. Yeah, here we go. Perfect. Let's head back into the cold by Lustrum and Carillon. Yeah, we'll probably go Carillon up to Lustrum, down to Magdalene's, and back to New Winchester. I think is my course of action here. that point, I think we will have enough to buy the hold increase, buy a whole bunch of fuel and supplies, and head up to Hybris for a few quests that are there. And then hopefully we'll have everything we need to go through the Eleutheria port relay. There's a small chance that we won't. I don't actually know what it requires, but hopefully it won't be a problem. Let's see what we found. A faintly luminescent cage. Ooh, some uncanny specimens. That's always nice. Happening at the... Oh, I picked up a piece of debris from the other ship. Whoops. It's dark and peaceful here. The stars are few. Alright. Aw, we were docking though. Bad. Let's visit the shrine, contemplate the statue. Always good to do. Port report, as we always do. Have the devils forge a ring for the princess. The devils will forge a ring for the princess to borrow. All they need is the right souls, as in those of chorister bees. The devils set to work, the uncanny distillation of the ethereal insectoid souls, segueing into the mysteries of conducting stained glass with pure souls. The lead devil interrogates the princess as she watches, impatient. This will be alone, princess. The ring must be returned with interest. You understand this, yes? Yes, says the princess. I understand everything. That's part of what being a princess is about. With some trepidation, the devils pass the perfect glass circle to her. She holds it up, abruptly enchanted by the swarm of souls circling around its interior. So, Caroline has so much story here that I've not pursued because I just need much higher stats to do it. We can sell our final chorister nectar, or a chorister nectar, get a little bit more money. It's very cheesy to do this, but you actually do make money doing it. I'll double my money here, so it's kind of worth doing. Grab a couple more supplies as well. Alright, and then what is the best route from Caroline to Lustrum? I think heading back up here and around. We're gonna try that. Yeah, it is always really funny when I have a, what are they called? Bargain or whatever? A prospect, that's what they're called. When I have a prospect that allows me to buy a resource that a port sells and just sell it right back, or when they're selling that resource for super cheap, and I just get to double my money for no effort whatsoever. It's almost always worthwhile. And then every time I complete one of those prospects, I also get some experience and a little bonus reward, so I will take the easy money and run with it. Because I'm actually pretty close to having enough where I genuinely can buy both of the major upgrades I want, because it would be ideal if I could get both a better engine and more cargo space before I head off to the next region of space. But we'll see if that happens. Oh, don't be a guest. Attack me, Scout. Actually need to fight one of those, but I don't feel like it. combat is better, but it is still not what I would necessarily call good. At least not with this. Once I get a better weapon, it will be completely fine. Are you gonna help me, Takati Scout? That would be very useful if you did. Or we cannot. Oh. What are we mad about now, people? A junior signaler receives a dose of medicinal port in the infirmary after seeing a frozen corpse spin past a window. The experience has shaken him. The dead are hungry, he says. We need to make an offering, or it'll come back and knocking at the hull. Fine. There we go. Got it. Perfect. We need the legs. Yeah, I mean, some of it is I spend a lot of time just dodging the enemies, instead of fighting them, so I just don't have a ton of practice. Like I said, once I get a second gun, my ability to not get whacked by the enemies will improve significantly. It's just a little bit easier for me when I'm working with multiple weapons. But yeah, it's not a part of the game. It's not a part of the game I dislike, but it's also not a part of the game I especially enjoy. So I just kind of avoid it except when I need to do it. I can outrun almost everything, so I tend to prefer to do that. But both are perfectly valid, and I should probably get better at the combat. It will help. I don't have the resources. Oh yeah, I need more bronze wood for this too. I don't have any bronze wood. The Vagabond's residence, that's where we want to go. You follow the Vagabond past Lustrum's outskirts, into the whirling whiteness beyond. Miles from civilization, you find a mansion half buried in snow, perched in a rocky outcrop. The Vagabond wades to the door and slams on the iron knocker. After some time, the door eases open. A doddery butler peers out, his face so downcast it looks half melted. "Welcome back, sir," says the tragic butler wearily. "A letter was delivered in your absence." The Vagabond has shrugged out of his coat and is heaping logs on the fire. You have a few moments to roam the place. The mansion is colossal, its walls built with bronzewood logs, its bathrooms gleaming with ivory, its walls painted with gold-framed portraits of a younger, better-groomed vagabond. But it's also obviously been some years since it was properly maintained. Some of the windows are broken, and snow is heaped to the floor beneath. Black mold streaks the carpet. There's an overpowering smell of damp. Yeah, in general, I enjoy games where I can play a kind of pacifist. Like, I just like that there are games where that's an option. Uh, but at the same time, like, there are obviously some storylets that you can't progress unless you get certain items from enemies, and it's possible but challenging to get, like, the Tacadies or the Ministry Monitors to fight the things for you. So it's not bad to have some skill in combat in the event that you end up in a bad situation or you need to progress a storylet. But yeah, mostly I avoid it because I enjoy the reading lots of stories part, if that hasn't become apparent. Ask the vagabond how he could afford such a place. 10 bedrooms, a kitchen that could staff a dozen cooks, a chandelier that drips with diamonds. Princes have lived less ostentatiously. Ha, you should have seen it in its heyday. The vagabond rubs his hands before the fire. Warm, noisy, bustling, with staff and guests. Our parties could be heard in New Winchester, isn't that right? Quite so, sir, says the tragic butler. I struck it lucky in the mountain, you see, says the vagabond. Found enough hours to make me rich. Rich enough to buy all of this and more besides. He claps you on the back. All luxury in the world can't compare to the majesty of the open sky, though. Right, Captain? He's been brandishing the envelope for more than half an hour now. Just give me the gist of it, will ya? Asked the vagabond, idly tossing snowballs at a portrait of a severe-looking woman in black. The butler clears his throat. The letter was delivered by a skylark who called himself Quivers, sir. In it he claims to have discovered the location of the sugar-spun garden. He was seeking your help. The vagabond pauses mid-throw. But that's just a myth. Story you tell over campfires when the night is cold and hungry. He sounds uncertain, then shrugs. Young Quivers means well, but he must have been mistaken. The blizzard outside has worsened. Best you stay until the morning. You stay up into the night. Your conversation is meandering, but the vagabond repeatedly circles back to the mysterious letter. I'm worried for Quivers, he says. The other skylarks haven't seen him in months, and he comes to my house babbling about a myth? The next morning, the butler says his plaintive goodbyes. As you crunch through the snow towards Lestrum, the vagabond says he plans to track down Quivers. What kind of a king would I be if I didn't protect my subjects? He asks. Besides, I once believed in the sugar-spun garden myself. Must admit, I'm curious. So, we're not going to turn in our port reports here. We're going to turn them in back in London. But we could turn them in here if we wanted to shift the balance of power back in favor of the Tacites. But I'm really not trying too hard one way or the other with those right now. Not gonna set up a claim right now. We don't have enough crew. Barrels of hours. I think we're just gonna grab a bit more fuel, a bit more supplies, and continue along our way back down over here to Magdalen's. See if anything new and interesting is happening over there. The first time I found the Mother of Mountains here on the way to Lustrum, I was so nervous because it's just this big blackness after that whole ice field corridor. And I was like, am I gonna fall out of the sky? Where are we going? It ended up being fine, but the exploration part of this game is definitely one of the most interesting things. And while it is certainly more comfortable when you know where you're going and what the main ports are, I really enjoy the exploration aspect and the way it rewards you for doing that. Which is part of why I am eager to get to the next region of the sky. See some new and different stuff and see what else we've got in store. Because we've got Eleutheria to go to, and then someday there's also the Blue Kingdom. But as I recall, it even warns you if you try to go to that port. Oh jeez, I do not want to fight a guest. These are the worst. As I recall, when you try to go to the Blue Kingdom, it even warns you, like, this will be hard. Are you sure you're ready? So, I haven't been there either. But, hopefully somewhere in this lineage. Maybe not with this captain. We'll see how well they do, but that's not the right way to go. That is a dead end, as I recall. Whee! I'll just drive in a loop-de-loop. That'll be fine. I always crash into those spikes on the other side when I'm hugging that wall. I don't know why. I should be able to tell, because they do a good job with the headlamps, telling you where you can and cannot drive the train. But I am not a good driver. so I think I have the Vagabond and the Incautious Driver both to talk to again at some point here, because we've visited their next locations, and we should do that before we get too much further along. Ugh, our terror is so high. This is why we're going to Magdalen's, is to fix this. We have enough supplies to deal with it this way, though. But I would rather reduce my terror and my nightmares, if possible, before we head off to another region of the sky, because that is one of the easiest ways to end a captain's run, is you're unprepared and the sky is dark and large and spooky. Yes, thank you, inconvenient aunt. We are going to Magdalen's. Actually, we might even go all the way out to Port Prosper before we go back to New Winchester, so not much further past Magdalen's. Let's grab a port report. Alright, no new quests that he's got. Which are these? Expensive. Just while away time with the other captains, which will help our terror some. And we'll go to the Solace Chamber. Most of these. Also, Saloon Stewed Gossip is easy to get. Oh yeah, I forgot we had this quest. See if the rumors are true. Is a deceased Takati war hero really in attendance at Magdalen's? The attendant smiles and licks his pale lips. You have morbid tastes. This way, if you please. Easiest source for it, I can trade for it really easily when I turn in my port reports. One of the things you can get for like 1 favor is Saloon Stewed Gossip. I'm trying to remember. I feel like it's one of those things that I always end up with like 20 of, but that's the one I can think of at the moment. I think there's another pretty easy source as well. Maybe that's in London though. That might not be in the reach. You're led to a slim chamber of polished scarlet glass. A burly figure is sitting in a comfortable armchair. They smile up at you. The attendant, and they are just an attendant, bears a striking resemblance to the departed general, augmented with cosmetics. The jawline is uncanny. The general makes one crucial mistake. They lean forward to take your hand with their left. You know for a fact the war hero was right-handed. The general sighs, noticing your scrutiny. Ah. This is a new role for me. Don't suppose I can ask you to keep mum? A lie can be more useful than the truth, especially where morale is concerned. Yeah, we'll keep our silence. You while away an intriguing afternoon in conversation with the dead general. Their eyes are bright as they describe their near misses over Prosper, skirmishes in the snows of Lustrum, the execution of traitors at Old Tom's Well, starvation in Traitor's Wood, death in the raging skies over New Winchester. They wink as you leave, closing the door after you with their right hand. Excellent. But we do actually want to treat our terror. So let me try that again. We don't want to gain terror. This one. Lovely. How much will it cost? Do that. Oh, moments of inspiration are harder to get. And we only have 1 nightmare, so that might be okay. price on those? Yeah, we'll grab a couple. I'd like to buy all of them, but I don't have the room. Alright, that should be fine though. That's still not my map button. I don't know why I keep doing that. Yeah. Port Prosper and back? Or just straight to New Winchester? You know what? I'm eager to move on. We can always come back to the Reach and go to Port Prosper later. Or maybe we can't. We'll find out later. But for now, I think we're gonna go back to New Winchester, do a little bit of shopping, equip ourselves with as much fuel and supplies as we can carry, and head up to Hybris. And hopefully, make it out to Eleutheria, which would be about perfect timing, because I think we're gonna go another half hour, a little bit longer, and at the top of the hour. Because the only unfortunate thing about playing this game with the amount of reading and the voices that I try to do is after about 3 hours my voice burns out pretty badly. But hopefully you've been enjoying the narration and the voices. I have a lot of fun doing it, so... I don't fight you. I just battering rammed right on into that one. I mean, I don't want the stream to just, like, be quiet and I never say anything. Although I don't mind taking breaks just to enjoy the music. Again, sound design is another thing they did a fantastic job of in this game. But yeah, it is... I think as I stream more, I will get better at it and my voice will build up more endurance. But unfortunately, after a while, it's not as much fun to do the voices because my throat hurts. But again, hopefully as I build up a little bit more endurance with it, I will be able to go longer as I get better at it. Alright, so what do we need to do here? We need to go to the shop. We are going to put a bunch of stuff in the bank because we don't need it right now. And I don't want to take anything we don't need with us on this little quest of ours. Because I'm hoping that we don't just immediately fail. But in the event that we do, I do want a few resources around to make sure that we can still get a good start with our next captain in the lineage. Alright, so we're going to pick up the winch and pulley, which will give us 8 tolls, which is fantastic. Go ahead and put that on. Excellent. And, we're a little bit short. Let's go turn in port reports. And I may sell some stuff out of the bank if we need a little bit more money. But port reports will help. That's like 100 apiece. And this is when I said I had an easy sort for Saloon Stew Gossip. I believe that's here. I don't think I'm misremembering that, but we will find out. Yeah, here it is. So, One favor with the Windward Company gets me 2 Saloon Stewed Gossip. So it's a pretty good exchange rate, especially since I tend to turn it all in to the same group. So yeah, like I have 18 Windward Company gratitude right now, so it would be very easy for me to just load up on a lot of Saloon Stewed Gossip, which can be helpful. Also a pretty easy way of getting ministry stamped permits, and invitations to Perdurance. In general, I think the rewards I get from the other faction, which used to be at Victory Hall and is now up in Lestrum, are also really good, and I think I slightly prefer those, but man, ministry stamped permits, the game asks for a lot of, so it's really nice to have a very easy source of them. But for right now, that got us another 600 sovereigns, which is helpful. Let's go back to New Winchester and see how we're doing on that. Rent. So close. The engine isn't critical. It would be nice, but it's not the end of the world if I end up not being able to afford it. It would just make my train a little bit faster, make it a little bit easier to outrun the stuff that I don't feel like battling with. Yeah, but let's see. Let's see how we're doing. Because I do need to make sure I leave myself enough to actually buy supplies, or else this has all been for naught. That was a problem I had with both Sunless Skies and Sunless Seas when I was first kind of learning how the games worked, is I would manage to get enough money, upgrade my engine or my boat, and then immediately lose that run because I didn't save myself enough money to actually then equip the new one. I just bought it as soon as I had enough money. After a few times doing that, I realized my mistake. And now do not tend to make such a silly mistake. Honestly, might just go with a couple bronzewood shielding instead. I think I have room for 2 of those, and that just gives me so much hull. Which is nice. What else do I want? Let's get those from actually taking out some of the various enemies. Actually, go ahead and now we'll keep it. We don't need to sell it. We're not that short on money. Okay, now we have 10 of both fuel and supplies, which might be excessive to be perfectly honest, but I think it is worthwhile. We have lots of hull. Actually, we should patch up our ship if we can. We have 82 sovereigns. That might be a mistake. We'll find out later. And let's just check and see if I have what I need for this. It is, but I just need one more Tale of Terror. Okay. It is, but I am planning on going to Hybris, which always takes a number, and then directly through to the next area without coming back. So, it may be overkill, we'll find out, but the worst that happens is I've slightly overstocked, and I have to just gather port reports for a while to regain or rebuild. But I have stuff that I can sell if I need to. Stop by Polymer and Plenty's just to grab that port report in the event that we do end up coming back. Which won't be tonight, but... Eleutheria. Come back to New Winchester. It will be good. Have. Actually, should have stocked up on crew. Actually, that's alright. 7 will be okay. If it isn't, well, consequences of hubris. Well, it's fun for me if I never take risks. It is not as fun to watch. And anyway, I should figure out how to go to new places, do new things. Fun. I don't just need to be cautious all the time. Got my port report, got my terror down to nothing. Keep going. Wish it wasn't so far to Hybris. It's always so windy. There's no easy way. Forgot about the big correspondence obelisk thing there. So cool. Definitely looking forward to a later run. Once I've done a bit more exploration, or maybe once I finish the ambition with this captain, of actually trying to do the truth ambition and start to really figure out some of the lore, the deep story of why things are the way they are here in the sky. Because it is very odd. And in playing Fallen London and Sunless Seas, I've picked up bits and pieces of what's going on. But there's so much depth to all 3 games that I've never really made it far enough to totally piece together the story of what's happening behind the scenes. So I'm hopeful that we'll get far enough along somewhere in this lineage to actually start to really figure that out. Because it is much, much easier to lose a captain in this one than it was in Seas. It was no fun having to basically start over entirely. You kept so little between captains in Sunless Seas. Whereas this game I feel like is much, much more generous with letting you keep experience, with letting you keep your chart, with letting you keep everything in your bank. You don't lose your engine ever. It is very nice that you don't have to wholesale start over. And I like that some of the storylets also remain completed. Like, if you fully complete an officer's story, they remember that. They don't reset entirely. Because I never thought that quite made sense in Seas, that everything whole cloth started over. The little date at the bottom of your screen down here would be different, but nothing else. It would be exactly like it was. Spacewall is so cool. I do not have the bronze wood to do the thing that the order would like. Got Ministry of Literature. Lovely. I don't really need that right now, but it's good to have it. Alright, 9 supplies, 8 fuel. Because I don't know right now what the state of Hybris is. I may be able to stock back up here, but I also may not. That has been a problem in the past. Sometimes there is a state change in Hybris that causes things to be a problem. Let's see what we've got. Ah, shoot. Yep, okay. The colonists' houses are dark, and there is no sign of a soul about. Where is everyone? The persnickety factor is alarmed. This is very disagreeable. I was expecting to find people here. Disappearing like this is extremely rude. You split up and make a quick circuit of the village. You discover tables laid out for dinner, cold tea still in Fair Nance's pot, the notes, in large print, half-written for the mayor's council meeting laid out on his desk. Abandoned bowls bob forlornly in the shadows of the marsh. You find the persnickety factor near the station. She holds up a muddy tarot card. 10 of cats. How peculiar. Let's keep looking. Let's see if we can find any clues. The marshes are wild, the spores unswept. Laundry sits in piles in the wash house. Several shirts abandoned in the mangle. The town hall has been set up for a show. A broken mirror sits on the stage. You find an abandoned set of tarot cards before a gold-framed mirror. A playbill for Marzipan and Hollow, the wondrous wizards of glass, has been discarded among the slew of pillows. The persnickety factor makes a face. I hate to suggest it, but Polymere and Plenty's might be able to shed some light here. They have a magician, and let us search for Madame Lumiere. Loud curses lead you towards an elderly woman fiddling with an antiquated camera. She sighs and shuts the frame. That'll do. She offers her a trembling hand. Lumiere, once a renowned explorer and filmmaker, now, as you see. A cough rattles through her. You from New Winchester? I'll leave with you. I can pay my way. I'm done here, and my lungs won't tolerate much more of this. I've a premiere to plan. What? We need a port report. Savage the settlement. Oops. I shouldn't have done that. Yep. So yeah. We can no longer get fuel or supplies here, which is part of why I brought a lot, because that is sometimes a problem. Is something happens to Hybris when I leave it alone for too long, and everybody disappears, and it's very confusing. And I really don't know what triggers it, if it just happens after a certain amount of time. I don't know. It's very weird. Anyway, we have too much stuff, which is somewhat unfortunate. We'll drop those. We're not going to worry about it right this second, because we have other places to be. Kind of thought that might have happened, though. That over that way. Ah, jeez. Just crashing into everything today. Okay. Here we go. Grab a trophy for that. Quickly. Cool. You select a crewman by drawing lots. He goes reluctantly into the vacant cabin. When he emerges the next day, his eyes are circled with shadow. His teeth are chattering. He admits he slept on the floor, for the bed's blankets were cold and stiff with frost. He will say nothing of what transpired, except to swear he would never do it again. So our ship, our train might be a little bit haunted, but it happens. It'll be fine, I'm sure. Past the mold pastures here. References. Supplies. Awesome. But, see, it is. Do we have what we need? I have no idea. I hope so. Area transit relay. Alright, let's do this. Let's do this thing. I don't have enough money. Enough ministry approved literature. 800 sovereigns. Ministry approved literature. Okay. So I either need to go get more money or I need to get ministry approved literature. Alas. Not gonna be able to make it today. Oops. Resume. Man in the Reach. That's a bummer. I probably could have looked that up ahead of time, but, you know, it's part of the joy of exploration, is sometimes you just don't have what you need. So with that being said, what we are gonna do... What's sad is I literally had one in my inventory and I dropped it. What are we gonna do, given this knowledge? We are gonna head back around the long way here. Stop by Leadbeater and Stanrod's Nature Preserve. We're gonna go to Polymer and Plenty's. What I may do is just kind of get everything I need to go to Eleutheria upstream over the course of the next week, so that when we pick back up next Friday, same time, same place, we will be at the transit relay, and I will, instead of making it out there and not actually being as prepared as I thought I was, I can actually go through and we can start exploring a new region of the sky. But for right now, it is starting to get late for me here, so we are gonna go ahead and just make our way back to Hybris so that we can save and call it a day. But thank you so much for hanging out with me. I always stream Fridays at 6 p.m. Pacific time, but as my work schedule allows, I try to fit in a few smaller streams on other days. Typically Mondays, especially since this Monday is a holiday, I'll probably do one on the 5th as well. So I try to keep my schedule up to date, but Fridays for sure, other days of the week as I can fit them in. Alright, back in the abandoned Hybris. Call it here. But yeah, like I said, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed watching me only somewhat successfully complete my storylets here in the Reach. And we will pick back up with this game. I'll probably play something else on Monday if I do end up streaming, but we'll pick back up with this 6 p.m. Pacific time next Friday.